All right, so today we've got like kind of like a weird background. I'm just like sitting here on the dining room table and I have a minute, so I wanted to just go ahead and answer some questions that I had asked you guys to ask me, like kind of what you wanted to know about labor, delivery, postpartum. I feel like ever since I had Sean, I haven't had really like a minute to like sit and talk about the birth experience much, other than like the labor and delivery vlog, which I filmed, which if you haven't seen it, it's here on my channel. But just talk about like what some of this time period has looked like and just answer some of these questions. The baby is sleeping. I'll go as long as the baby lets me, and then when the baby wakes up, then I will stop. And if I have to do more of these chit chat videos, kind of like girl talk videos, then we shall do that. So let's just go ahead and get started. So how is the two siblings now with the jealousy issue? So if you're new here, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. So really the jealousy, it hasn't been like directly like too bad. Like these days, I think the kids are more just wanting to be involved with the baby, and I have to often be like, okay, I like need you to give me a little bit of space. Yes, they've been acting out, and I did share with you guys here that like there had been, like especially at the very beginning, there were a couple times where like Riley had expressed like, why do you spend more time with the baby? Like those kind of things did come up. They haven't really come up recently, like in the last few weeks. I think they're just now realizing like, okay, the baby's little, the baby needs my help right now. And I've been showing the kids, something that I think has been helping is I've been showing the kids old baby pictures of them, and like I've been explaining to them like, hey, I used to do these things with you too. Like I used to give you lecture, I used to rock you in your nursery, I used to have to, you know, stop my day and like take you somewhere so that you would go to sleep. Like trying to explain to them that it's not just something that I do for Sean, but I did it for them too as a baby. And I think that that's helping them to kind of like grasp that concept. So how are you balancing your relationship with Joe? Quality time, private time, adventures together, etc. Right now, I'm really blessed because Joe is home with me. So Joe got 12 weeks paternity leave, which is obviously like a blessing. Like I wasn't expecting him to get that much time for paternity leave, but you know, we're embracing it and it's been a huge help. I think that's more so helped with like him being able to do stuff with the kids so that I can have more time to, you know, do what I need to do with Sean. But I don't know, despite the fact that it's been kind of crazy and obviously there's less time to do everything, I think we're still making time for our relationship. Like we'll still, like at the end of the night, if Sean is down for like one of those later in the day naps, like we'll watch our shows together. We've still been watching 90 Day Fiance, still like had our shows that we'll watch, which is not really unusual. Like that's kind of what we did before Sean was here. Still make it a point, like now he can have breakfast with us, try to still like sit around the dinner table and have dinner together. No, there haven't been like one-on-one time, like where we go out on an outing and like leave all 3 kids with my mom, like that we're not there yet. Eventually we will get there, but just doing what we can right now together. Like we can still be alone in the house, I guess. Like the kids still go to sleep, John still takes naps, so even if it's like for 20 minutes where, you know, we want to be like on our own and have alone time, we can still make it happen. So we are trying to prioritize just making time to, even if it's just talk, because a lot of times like what has happened in this newborn stage a lot, and we've talked about it and he's expressed it to me, is like at the beginning you're just in survival mode, and it is very easy to feel like you're just like passing ships. I don't know what that metaphor is, like passing in the night, like ships passing in the night. Like you're just handing the baby off to each other and it's like, peace, it's your turn, like go, I'll see you later, I'll see you at the end of his nap. So it is easy to kind of fall into that, like you're just going through the motions. So we are trying to prioritize just talking and intimacy, even if it's just like emotional intimacy, even if it's just like hugging and kissing, whatever it is that we need, so that we still feel like, you know, we're husband and we're wife, and that we're not taking that aspect away from our relationship. Like we are trying to work on it, but it's something that you really do have to work on when you have a newborn and everything else is chaos. So a lot of you guys had been asking if the baby was a girl, what her name would have been. So we had picked out a girl name. I'm not going to tell you her name because that is my all-time favorite girl name, and if we ever have another baby and it is a girl, then that will be the name that I pick. I am going to answer one question that I'm sure is here, but I don't see it right this second. If not, it's something that you guys have been asking me a lot on Instagram, which is, do I regret waiting to find out like the gender? Do I regret like waiting and like having it be a surprise at birth? I have a lot of thoughts about this, and again, I'm very sorry, like the kids are playing in the background and it is very loud here. I also realized that I have had like a crumbs from the table all over my hands. Whatever, we're gonna make this work. Hopefully you're just like listening and not even looking at my face. But do I regret that? I have mixed feelings. I feel like it was, in a way, like obviously it was a beautiful moment finding out that it was a boy and like having Joe tell me. But I feel, I don't know, like kind of like it was a little bit anticlimactic for me. Maybe it's because I spent the entire pregnancy thinking that this was a boy. Like I was convinced that I was having a boy, even though I didn't technically know for sure. So when he said, oh, it's a boy, I was kind of like, yeah, like I kind of felt that anyway. So I don't know that I would necessarily do it again, just because there are a lot of logistics that, like, it would have been easier on my end to know up front, like, hey, Sean was going to be a boy. That way I would have, you know, only had to pick out one name, and I would have been able to like decorate the nursery a little bit more like how I would have wanted, and I wouldn't have had to like do all the gender neutral clothes. Like I would have felt a little bit more prepared. So if we ever have another kid, I don't know that I would do it, just because at that point, like, we'd have the 2 boys. I would kind of want to know, like, is the next one a girl? Is the next one a boy? Because it's going to make a big difference. Like, do I have 3 boys and 1 girl? Or do I have 2 boys and two girls? But I am glad that I did it. Like, I'm glad that I went and I had that experience. I'm glad that I was able to experience what it was like to find out at delivery. And I think that it just made sense because we had 1 boy and 1 girl already. So it was kind of like, either way, you know, it's fine. But now having done it, I think I would probably want to know, because then I also feel like what I did miss out on is, like, during my pregnancy, I missed out on like being able to, like, I don't know, like look at my belly and be like, oh, it's like little boy. Like there's like a bit of like that bond that I feel like maybe I missed out on during pregnancy. I still bonded with the baby. I still loved being pregnant, but it would have felt more personal, maybe that's like the right word. Like I would have been like talking to my baby, knowing like your baby boy, baby Sean, as opposed to like baby number 3. I don't know. Let me know like how you guys felt if you waited until birth to find out the gender of your baby. Are your feelings the same? Did you absolutely love it? Like, what was your take on that? Because I kind of have like mixed feelings. So do you go on a diet after delivery or any exercise to return to your normal weight? So I am today filming this video, I think I'm 5.5 weeks postpartum. This past week was the first time that I ever felt like, okay, let me do something like exercise wise other than like walking through public. So I do have like a 10-pound medicine ball, which I've been using just like to do some like arm weights, and I've started to just do a little bit of like, I don't know, like arm toning, I guess you could call it. I've been doing like a few calf raises here and there, and just like a handful of squats. I don't know, I'm starting to get the itch to like want to work out, which is very weird because you guys know I am not a workout person. So I'm starting to get the itch to kind of do something, but it's obviously nothing super structured yet. I haven't even gone to my 6-week postpartum visit, so I'm technically not even like cleared to work out. I'm trying to like start looking up, like I've been on Pinterest looking up like pelvic floor therapy, like workouts or postpartum friendly workouts, and trying to see if I start implementing, even if it's just like 1 or 2 movements a day, to start working on that. But as far as diet goes, you guys, I suck. Like my diet is awful. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. When I give birth, I am immediately starving, and all I want to do is just eat whatever the heck I want to eat and not worry about if it's healthy or not healthy. Maybe that sounds awful, but I just want to eat. Like I'm just like, listen, I just birthed a child. I carried this child for 9 months. Now here I am in the postpartum phase, and I'm nursing and I'm leaking and I smell and I feel like a disaster. Like I just use food as like a form of comfort. I'm like, this is like the one thing that I can do that in this moment makes me just like feel really nice, to just be able to eat all the chocolate that I want and all of the sweets and stuff that I shouldn't be eating. So I know that that needs to change, and I can't keep that up indefinitely. So I feel like here in the near future, I'm gonna try to prioritize more my health and my nutrition. Like I feel like it's the next phase of my life. Like I really need to get it together. But immediately postpartum, like that's the last thing on my mind. This time around, in terms of my weight, I will say I look at my body and it does feel more foreign to me, because when I got pregnant with Sean this time around, I was at least like 10 pounds heavier than I was when I got pregnant with the other 2 kids. So this time I already started a little heavier, and then now that I've lost some of the baby weight, like there's still another extra like 10 pounds on me that I'm not used to. So I'm trying to give myself a lot of grace, trying to remember that like that's not the most important thing. What I really should focus on is just being the best mom that I can be to the kids, and you know, just all of the nursing and the stuff that I have to do with Sean now. So for now the answer is no, but in the near future I promise I'm going to try to get it together, and I will share with you if I have any tips or any advice or just anything that I'm doing. So please talk about NFP postpartum. I'd be grateful for any and all resources, as I'm currently postpartum and my body takes over a year to go back to its cycle. So NFP postpartum is something also that's just stressing me. Like, look, my eyes are freaking starting to twitch. So if you're new here and you don't know, like my husband and I, we practice natural family planning, NFP. I do have one video here on my channel that I'll link, or you can search like Kayla Buell NFP and you can hopefully find it. Kind of gives you like an intro to what it is and like kind of why we practice it. But before I had Sean, I will tell you that I reached out to my NFP coach. So that is something that I would recommend if you're thinking about NFP, or if you're doing NFP postpartum now. Reach out to some kind of instructor. I always recommend mine, obviously, because I love her and she's great. But NFP postpartum can be very tricky. Your body is still like adjusting to postpartum life, and for many of us, we don't get our cycles back, so therefore we are not fertile for a while. But some people get their cycles back right away, and some people are fertile right away after birth. And like, I don't know, at least for me right now, I'm not trying to get pregnant. I'm trying to give my body a break. Like, I'm not looking for an Irish twin situation. So it makes me a little bit nervous. But I did have a call with her before I gave birth, and she kind of gave me a general guideline, like, hey, for the first 6 weeks, you're generally not fertile. But now that I'm kind of approaching that time frame, for the most part, breastfeeding, like, I'm not an NFP instructor, don't take my word for it and then like get pregnant and then blame me. But for the most part, most women, at least for me, like, I normally don't get my cycle back until I end breastfeeding, which like for both of my other kids was, I think, like up to like, I think I nursed for almost a year with both of them. So it was later in the game that I got my cycle back. So for the most part, you're kind of like considered infertile while you're breastfeeding. Again, I'm gonna have a million people like adding notes in the comments like, that's not true, I got my cycle back. Go look it up, do your own research. But for me, I have a lot of peace of mind that like I'm not gonna be pregnant right away. But all of that being said, she's already walked me through like some of the charting that I'm gonna have to do, because NFP isn't just like, oh, you know, days 1 through 10 you're fertile, days 1, like it's actually like scientific. Like, you're looking at your mucus, you're taking your temperature, like you're recording a lot of things to come to the conclusion of whether or not it's a good idea to have sex, and like what the chance looks like that you'll get pregnant if you have sex. I am going to start charting soon. The one thing I'll tell you about NFP is that I used to use, or I have been using, the symptothermal method for NFP, and I'm thinking about switching to Marquette postpartum, because I've heard that for a lot of women, the Marquette method is a little bit easier and more concrete postpartum. But yeah, I could talk about that for a very long time, and that would kill the entire Q&A. But it is something that I have to start working on now soon. So I know that it can be a little overwhelming. Hang in there, reach out to someone that can help you and guide you, because it's obviously something that you'll want to take seriously. So do you ever struggle with postpartum anxiety or depression? I think, like, I haven't really had a postpartum depression episode in my life, or like feel severely depressed. I did struggle with postpartum anxiety a lot, especially with Jackson. At this point, I don't even remember with Riley. I probably did too, because with Riley, she was in the NICU, and I know that I had a lot of like PTSD from like having her be in the NICU. Postpartum anxiety hit me a lot with Jackson, and I was like scared to drive. I documented a lot of that on my channel, and I was on Lexapro for a bit, and then I got off of it. I did counseling with BetterHelp online, and then like I haven't been doing that now for a really long time. But yes, postpartum anxiety is something that I have struggled with, so I'm trying to like just be very mindful of like how I'm feeling. I did have one like series of like maybe 2 or 3 days this time around with Sean where I started to feel a little bit like, I don't know, like I was kind of like wanting to like be alone, like with nobody around, and like I started to feel myself kind of like shut down in a way, or like, I don't know, just like hide in a hole. I can't quite explain it. And like when I felt myself doing that, because like that's not very like me, I really had to like think about it and pray about it. And then I ultimately like tried really hard to like not go to that place, if that makes any sense. And I think that's one of the reasons why you guys have seen me this time around like get out of the house more and like go to my mom's house and go and take the kids on little mini adventures, because I kind of in a way have been scared of like falling into like a bad place or a sad place. So right now I'm doing great. thank the Lord. I feel really good about where I'm at right now. But I have told you guys also that something that I kind of struggle with, or I have struggled with in the past, is like that postpartum rage, like that just like being angry. And again, that is something that I have taken to the Lord, because like obviously I don't want to feel that way. So trying to just work on that and be mindful of like when I feel like I'm getting angry or upset, or just like, I don't know if it's all the hormones, but like yelling, screaming, like postpartum rage is a real thing. So if you're dealing with that, obviously like talk to someone and get the help that you need, but it's a real thing and you are not alone. So how was your labor compared to the other two? Basically, like in a nutshell, this labor was wonderful. Like I had a great labor, and I'm really glad I got to document it too, because I had a great experience. I do think I felt a little bit more pain than I did with Jackson, because I feel like with Jackson, maybe I got my epidural a little bit faster than I did this time around, or I don't know, like things progressed really quickly here with Sean. So there was a period where I had like really intense contractions. I felt like I was gonna throw up. I was like, holy crap, like why am I feeling so much pain? It was like one of those moments where I started to kind of freak out. So that was kind of odd, but it was a beautiful experience. After that episode, like after those, like that pain situation, pain was very minimal. I think I pushed far less than I had to push with Jackson, so like it was quicker. Everything progressed really quickly, and I was blessed to like, you know, have him come out healthy, and I was immediately able to do skin to skin. We nursed, like the after, you know, after he came out of me experience was beautiful, and I felt like I got to bond really well with him. And I was like in and out of the hospital. He had asked me if I wanted to stay like one extra day, and I said nope, no thank you. I'm tired of all the beeping noises and people coming to check on me and squeezing my stomach and stuff. Like I'm going home. So it was a very quick, you know, experience like in the hospital, but it was really good. So I was very happy with how things ultimately went. I know that there was a lot of back and forth about being induced versus not being induced. So long story short, I was induced, but I was induced. I was already like 40 weeks and 2 days or something like that. Or was I 40 weeks on the dot? Maybe I was 40 weeks on the dot at this point. I can't remember, and it was only like a freaking month ago, but it was beautiful. So I'm very grateful. So was Sean the biggest baby? He was the biggest baby. He was 8 pounds 3 ounces. My other kids, I think Riley was bigger than Jackson. Riley was 7 pounds like 13 ounces, I want to say, and Jackson was like a whole pound less than that. So he was the biggest one. And then one of you guys asked me this question. I'm so glad that one of you did, because I feel like I never even got to answer it here on YouTube. But why the name Sean? Like, why did we come up with the name Sean? I know that I explained it on Instagram, so those of you that follow me on Instagram, you know why. And it's such a special like name to us. It has such a big like meaning for us. We love his name, and it was very intentional, but maybe I never shared it here on YouTube. So the name Shawn Michael, we chose Shawn Michael because the name Sean is the name of the priest who walked us through like getting married in the church over there in Virginia. Like we had a priest that we found when we were in Virginia, and throughout our whole like faith journey in Virginia, which again was very special to us. The priest that basically counseled us, met with us, got us married through the church, and kind of had that conversation with us about being open to life and the possibility of maybe expanding our family, and like all of that we went through. His name was Sean, and so we always said that if we ever did have another baby and it was a boy, that we would name him Sean, because we grew to love that priest. We knew for certain that like the Holy Spirit was working through him in our life, and he was just like a really important person for all of us, like totally changed our life. So his name was Sean, and then Michael, Michael's just for Saint Michael the Archangel. So Michael the Archangel, that's how we chose his middle name. Thought it was like a very powerful name. So that is why we picked Sean. Like if you guys have seen like some of my other like baby name videos that I've done in the past, like I don't think Sean was ever even like on that list. Like that's not a name that I think I've ever like thought of for my child. But the minute that we went through this whole experience and we found out that I was pregnant, it was just like one of those things. Joe and I both were on board. Like he actually like turned to me, like I had already thought of it, and he was like, you know, if we have a boy, like we're gonna have to name him Sean. And I was like, well, I think that is quite appropriate. So very special to us, and that is why we picked his name. So this person just asked like generic, like in general, to like talk about postpartum. She said, I don't think a lot of mothers talk about this topic as much, and they skip right to the newborn routines. I wasn't prepared for this part as much as I was the sleepless nights and nesting. It'd be great to hear about the recovery time, essentials, healing process, partner duties at the time of recovery, etc. So I do have a video that I filmed that was like a 1 week postpartum video. If you haven't seen that, go see that, because I share a lot of like what I was using for healing, for my bleeding, like the underwears, the disposable underwears, like all of that stuff I shared in that video. I'm sure that postpartum is very much just like a newborn, like in the sense that every person's postpartum experience is going to be different, and obviously it's different based on how much support you have. I thankfully had a very good postpartum experience this time around. Obviously I had support, Joe's been home with me, but the healing, like I did have a tear and I know that I had stitches, but for some reason it seems like it healed rather quickly. I'm sure that that's not the case for a lot of people. Like I was still bleeding. I was still having like back and forth bleeding. Like some days I bleed, some days I wouldn't bleed. Like even in like week 4 postpartum, which I have heard is normal. But every day that I'm like rocking Sean and I'm bouncing him and I'm walking him back and forth on the carrier, I'm like, how would I be doing this if I was still like in pain down there? Like how would I be doing this if I was still recovering from a C-section, or from like, I don't know, I had a really bad vaginal tear or an episiotomy or something like that, that I was still in pain from? Like how would I be doing that? So I think that is something that we don't like really think about or talk about too much. Like you're still like recovering yourself. You obviously have to care for another human, but like who's gonna care for you? Like somebody needs to care for you. Like somebody needs to like feed you and like make you food and bring things to you, because especially for like the first few days, like you, like it hurts down there. So I just say like obviously listen to your body, figure out what it is that would make you feel better, and then learn or try really hard to like communicate that to your partner, to your family, to your friends. I've told you guys repeatedly, like having people bring food to us was a huge help this time around, so that I didn't have to think about that. And just letting other people kind of pamper you. I struggle in that sense a lot because I feel bad. I don't know what, like maybe I'm like a natural like people pleaser in some ways, because in some ways I'm like, I don't really freaking care what you think, like goodbye, whatever. But there is a part of me that like I feel bad asking people to do stuff for me, or like I feel bad accepting help. Like I always kind of feel like it's a hindrance to other people, or like I'm being a pain, or I don't know, like I don't like to impose on people. Obviously I still need some kind of therapy, but for real, like I feel bad accepting help a lot. And so there were a handful of times where like people this time reached out and they were like, oh, do you need anything for the baby? And my initial response is like, no, I'm good, like I got it. Like we didn't even have a baby shower for Sean, so I'm like, you know, my initial response is like, no, we're good, thank you so much, like we'll take care of it. But I had to really like get out of my comfort zone and be like, you know what, like thank you so much, it's so sweet for asking. Like I would never turn down, you know, diapers, or I would never turn down a box of wipes. Like learning how to just receive from other people, like I don't know, I'm still working on that in a way. But I had some people also just like kind of say, you know, would you appreciate like a meal? And I again was like, I would never turn down a meal, like thank you so much. Or I had some people say like, what would you prefer more, like a box of diapers or some DoorDash money? And I would, you know, like they gave me a choice. Like it's not like, do you want anything? It was like, which of the two do you want? And that for me and like my, I don't know, my brain was just way easier, like giving me a choice between like this and this. So postpartum is hard, and just mentally, physically, emotionally, there have been plenty of emotional days. And like just the other day, like 2 days ago, I was literally rocking Sean to sleep and he was screaming in my ear. He was screaming. Like the entire time that I was rocking him, like he was screaming in my ear, and I was crying like hysterically. And Joe comes into the room and he's like, I'm sorry, like I know he's loud and he's screaming, like that's not fun, like I'm so sorry. And I was like, I'm not crying because he's screaming. I'm crying because I'm here holding him and I'm thinking about like dancing with him at his freaking wedding one day, and like how sad I'm gonna be to be losing him. Like those are the emotions and those are the things that I was thinking about. So I feel like insane. I feel very emotional. I'm still hormonal. Postpartum is just wild, but it's also just, again, like you feel all these things because you had this baby, and that is like the most beautiful thing, and it's a blessing, but it makes you, it's just a lot is basically what I'm trying to say. So just take it easy with postpartum, you know, take the time that you need so you can heal, because if you don't heal, then you can't take care of anybody else. And I think we all know that us moms have to take care of everyone else. So So try to, you know, like expedite that healing time by taking it easy and not going above and beyond of like what your body feels capable of. Have you ever gotten peed on by Sean? Yes, I have. And so has one of the chairs over there next to the changing table. I still haven't told Joe that. So maybe he'll watch this video one day and find out. But yes, I have gotten peed on by Sean. I really thought it wasn't gonna happen. Like the first person to get peed on was my mom, and then, well, I think Joe first, then my mom here at home, and I was like, haha, I haven't gotten peed on. And then sure enough, I got peed on a lot. Like all on me, like near my face, and then on my chair. So that was great. So this person asked about whether or not I got any like gifts from Sean, like for Jackson and Riley. This time around, I didn't do that. Probably just because I didn't have time. I just had so much stuff going, you know, on in my life that I didn't. So I don't think that they love Sean less because they didn't get gifts from him. I know that when Jackson was born, I did get Riley a gift from Jackson because I guess, I don't know, I felt bad for her. She was the only baby that I had ever had, and now she had to share me. But this time around, I just didn't do that. I very much looked forward to like having them be in the hospital to meet their sibling, and we made it like a cute thing, and they got to hold the baby, their baby brother, their baby sister. One of the techs there at the hospital was super sweet, and we made them like little stickers that said like best big brother, best big sister. So that was really sweet because like I didn't do any of that. I didn't do the big brother shirt, the big sister shirt. That was just, this time around, as a, you know, mom of 3 now, it just was not at the top of my priority list. Those things are super cute if you can do them. Like, I'm not shaming you, I'm not like bashing you, like that's great. But just know that if you can't get your, you know, existing child a gift from their sibling, like they're not gonna care. They don't know that that's a thing. The only person that knows that that's a thing is you. So these kids, like, they really don't care. So the last question I'm gonna answer, because I feel Shawn Michael waking up. I feel him about to scream. So this person asked if I did anything to prepare for labor and delivery. Did I exercise, drink tea, did I eat dates, use any breathing techniques? Like those kinds of things. So to prepare for labor and delivery, when I was trying to like actually naturally induce myself, I was drinking dates, but I was making smoothies because dates like by themselves taste disgusting in my opinion. But I was putting them in smoothies. Like those last final days, if you were watching me on Instagram, like it was just like a hot mess. I really was trying to naturally go into labor and it wasn't happening. But I tried the red raspberry leaf tea, and then I did try the dates. None of that really worked because I still ended up getting induced. But when I was in labor, I didn't use like any specific breathing techniques. But what I have and what I will always remember about this labor is that when I was pushing, okay, and when I was like breathing through contractions, first of all, I had like my little Christian, like Catholic Christian playlist of like music playing like there on the bed with me. So that was like calming me, and it was a really nice experience. Like I have a playlist from like the Hallow app that I really like. And so that music was very calming. So I had that on and that helped. And then I also, like you guys saw in the labor and delivery vlog, we prayed the rosary. Joe and I prayed the rosary, and that was also very calming and very just got me to focus on Christ and focus on the Lord. So I really enjoyed that experience, like that part of my labor. But when I was pushing and when I was bringing this child into the world, the whole time that I was pushing, I was breathing deeply, but I was thinking about the image of Peter walking on the water and like looking at Christ, like that story from the Bible of like, you know, Peter walking on the water, and how like when he started looking at the storm and looking at everything not Jesus, how he ended up sinking. But like the whole moral of the story is like keep your eyes on Jesus. I had that entire like visualization the entire time that I was pushing. I was really thinking about myself, like as corny as it sounds, because whatever, like some of you guys are just not gonna get it, but I was thinking about myself like as Peter, and you know, Jesus just like calling out to me, and I was very focused on that and like trusting that he was right there and trusting that we were gonna get through this, but I just had to keep focusing on him. And so that was like a part of this labor that was very just like beautiful and very helpful, because it kept me focused on that while I was pushing and while I was like exhausted from the 1, 2, 3 push, and they were counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I was very tired, I was very exhausted, but that image continued to play in my mind, and I guess that also like helped with just like the breathing and keeping me calm and relaxed and not hyperventilating. So yeah, I have a lot of other questions. At some point, maybe if I have another minute, I'll sit down and talk to you guys. But I hope that through just like the vlogs that I've been sharing and stuff, that I've been showing you guys kind of what it looks like to have 3 kids and like what that adjustment looks like. We're still figuring it out. We don't have it figured out by the slightest. Going from 2 to 3 kids, in my opinion, it hasn't been as hard as going from 1 to 2 kids, because that's another quick question that I get asked a lot. It's just there's more to do. There's more meals that I have to make. I have to make meals now for the other 2 kids and take care of the newborn. I have to do more laundry. There's more clothes now because I have 2 other ones plus a newborn. So instead of doing laundry for 2, I'm doing laundry for 3. Jackson and Riley do a really good job of keeping each other entertained. Like right now, they've been playing. They're playing with their Legos. I mean, some days, yes, they're fighting all day long, but sometimes they will entertain themselves. So it's not like I have to have like my eyes on them 24/7. But I just feel like there's more to do. And I am a little bit more tired. I'm a little older. I'm 33 years old now. So I'm not 20. How old was I with Riley? I was 27 when I had Riley, I think. So, you know, I'm a little bit older, a little bit more tired. But I continue to pray and ask the Lord for strength and patience and help that he will guide me and help me to be the best mom that I can be to my kids. But it's great. Like, he is obviously, like, we're still adjusting to a lot of his like colic and his fussiness and trying to get some kind of semblance of a routine here, even though I know it's going to be a while till we have that. But he's fit in, you know, like with our craziness, and now it's like he's here. Like, I couldn't imagine my life without him. In no way do I regret having a 3rd kid. It's just been really, really sweet. And it just makes me more appreciative for the time that I have with him, just because now I know how quickly that time goes, like having gone through it with Riley and with Jackson. So I'm trying my best to just like soak it all in, but it is a lot. It's a lot of everything. It's kind of like how I can explain it. Like, it is a lot of good. It is a lot of love and kisses and smiles, and like your heart just feels so full. It's a lot, but then in the same breath, it's a lot of loudness, like noise and, you know, mess and laundry and diapers everywhere. It's a lot of the good and a lot of the chaos, but I will take the chaos if it gives me all of that love and all of that just like sweetness that we have with the newborn. So I love your faces. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you guys enjoyed just like chit-chatting with me, and that is it for today. So I love your faces. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.